All right, let's go to the phone. Bring in Jim Brandstatter. He is the radio analyst for Detroit Lions games. Jim, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you.
Hey, Jim, one of our guests on set just asked us, what do we think Jim Caldwell is going to do against Peyton Manning? What do you think Jim Caldwell is going to do against Peyton Manning?
I heard your answer, and I agree with it. Bring it. I think with Peyton, you've got to make him uncomfortable. If you let him sit there and look over the field, I think you're asking for trouble. So I think you bring as much heat as you can, force him to move his feet a bit, force him to throw a little bit early, and I think that's what you do. I mean, that's kind of one of those things you can do about any quarterback in this league. But I think with Peyton, the fact that he isn't as mobile as others, that's kind of the, I think, methodology, if you will, in the NFL of how to handle Peyton Manning.
Jim, this is Woody, and I appreciate that you joined us, and you're a lot sharper than this other guy we talked to Detroit. What did he do for a living? He's like
Dan Miller, the play-by-play guy.
Oh, yeah.
Woody, don't do that to my partner. Holy cow, I'm going to have to go talk to him tonight. It's going to be over.
Well, don't tell him I said that, because he was going to try and take me out to dinner on Saturday night to the Big Boy restaurant, I think.
He should have taken you out to the old Lafayette, Coney Island, man. You'd have loved that.
Oh, gosh, downtown, those dueling hot dog places.
There you go, right next door.
Oh, man. Aren't they related or something? Les is looking
no, they've been there right next to each other for 100 years, it seems like, but they're not related.
Oh.
And the difference is, I guess, from what I know, there's a little different chili.
So you know what I do, Jim? The answer to that solution is I go get 3 in one place, and then I go to the other place and get 3. We'll get back to...
You are a smart man, Woody Paige.
There's not a way in the world that Matt Stafford's not playing in this game. He's the toughest guy in the world, and I don't know how you put on a medical report that goes out to the media during the week, banged up.
Have you ever had bruised ribs?
Sure, I've had them. But really, Detroit, you're 0-2. You think Matt Stafford or Drew Brees is not going to play the game?
He'll
Jim,
go.
Is there any chance? I mean, if you're going to have some chance to beat the Broncos, you got to have Matt Stafford in the game.
I agree. And those Wednesday injury reports should be listed as fiction anyway, all across the league. And I saw Matt today, actually. We were out at practice, and he did have his regular media session. He was walking around and moving okay. He warmed up throwing balls, but, he's hurting. He got drilled last week against Minnesota. But he's a tough kid, and my bet is he'll play.
We talk about the offensive line problems here. You got defensive line problems in Detroit. You got offensive line problems. That's where you build a team. The heart of the team is the line of scrimmage. What are they trying to do? What are the Lions trying to do to correct both those areas?
Well, the one thing that's hurt them is they lost their right tackle, and they really don't have one figured out yet, whether it's Cornelius Lucas. Adrian Waddle played really well there a couple of years ago, but he's been hurt. They lost their starting center, Dominic Raiola. They lost their starting left guard, Rob Sims. They drafted a kid out of Duke that they thought would be their left guard, but he hasn't kind of done the job yet. So they got Manny Ramirez, guy out of Denver for the last couple of years, and he's been starting at left guard. And Travis Swanson, who they drafted 2 years ago, took over for Dominic in the middle. And right now it just hadn't come together. They're pretty talented guys. Riley Reif's a high pick at left tackle. They're pretty talented guys, but they have not played well and come together. Defensively up front, I mean, the big thing is, are you going to get Ndamukong Suh production out of Haloti Ngata? Well, you're not going to get the same kind of production because he's not Ndamukong Suh. But they're not bad. The big loss for them has been DeAndre Levy. He's one of the most underrated linebackers, I think, in the league. And I think DeAndre's loss has really hurt the Lions quite a bit. But overall, I mean, it's real simple. You got to play well. You got to play better. And because you can't go out and find another guy off the street. And the guys they got just have to pick it up and play better.
Jim, you mentioned that you hope that Haloti Ngata can give you the production that Ndamukong Suh gave you in years past. Is Haloti Ngata the same player he used to be?
Probably not the same, but he's still a big physical force, and he's a run stopper. And you've got to double him. I mean, he's not as athletic as Ndamukong Suh. And Ndamukong is kind of a freak that way. But Haloti is a big, thick, run stopper up in there that can push the pocket, and that's what they need. And their speed rushers out on the edge, got to get home. Now, they've played, a couple of teams that have done pretty well. I mean, they were getting after Phillip Rivers in the opener, something awful in the first half. And then what San Diego did was just forget about dropping back, forget about taking any time with the ball, and they just got the ball out of Rivers' hands immediately, started beating the Lions to the edges, and that's how they beat them. And I think that most teams are going to try to release the ball as quickly as they can against the Lions because you don't want your quarterback standing back there holding it for a while.
Jim, this is not about this game, but I wonder about Detroit going to the Dome Stadium and whether or not that causes that to be more of a finesse team, makes it more difficult to go on the road in that division because it's not the same sort of approach you have playing cold weather games. Am I making any sense there that is this team a different team once it leaves that building?
You know what, Woody, I think there's an argument for that, but I think more than whether they're in a dome or not, it's the personnel you got. And if you've got Calvin Johnson and you've got Golden Tate and you've got an arm like Matthew Stafford, you're going to be a little bit more of a team that wants to throw it. I'll give you an example. Denver last week, I don't know what the announcers, whether you guys thought about the announcers, but, I mean, they were talking about when Peyton started to make plays and when he started to pick it up, it was when they went to the shotgun and became a passing team. And Gary Kubiak wants to run it. He wants to be more of a physical downhill type of team. I don't think that's the personnel he's got. He's got to air it out. He's got to let Peyton be Peyton. And I think the Lions, if they were, for instance, if they were outside playing in an outside stadium, I think they'd still be quote unquote a more passing team because they got more passing personnel.
Hey, Jim, Woody likes to say, always bet on the team that's more desperate. Or that's most desperate. And there's no doubt that the Lions are the more desperate team in this game on Sunday. If they lose, they get off to an 0-3 start, and they could probably kiss goodbye to the playoffs. But I always wonder, you got to bet a desperate team that has the capability of winning, that has the talent to win.
You misquoted me a little bit.
Well, no, you say bet on the more desperate team.
Well, the team that the game has more meaning to.
Okay.
Yes, desperate.
This game has more meaning to the Lions.
But you have to have,
So my question is,
have to have a little bit of talent.
As injured as they are, and as much talent as they've lost, can Detroit beat the Broncos with that talent that's left?
I believe they can, and don't forget, it's not just desperation. It's their home opener. There's a little bit more of juice coming in there because it's their home opener. I mean, they're a team that a lot of people felt might have a great shot at dethroning Green Bay, and they've gotten off to a disappointing start. Are they desperate? Yeah, they need to win a game, but more importantly, it's a home game, and they don't want the home crowd to turn against them. So I think you're going to get their best effort, and believe me, they're talented enough. I mean, yeah, they've got some injuries, and yeah, they're struggling in some spots, but they're talented enough to play with anybody in the NFL. And like I said, if they can, unleash the pass rush and get after Peyton a little bit, I think they've got a shot at winning the game. Absolutely.
Yeah, Jim, I would give you some ammunition here that the Broncos came in there several years ago. I'll always remember it, and Detroit wasn't any good, and Detroit just blew the Broncos out. It was like 48 to.
Well, and this year's so, and Woody, and you guys last. This year's so crazy. Would you have thought that after what San Francisco looked like in their opener against Minnesota, would go in and get absolutely bombed against Pittsburgh, and then how could Cleveland win a game? Period. And yet they go out and win a game.
Yeah.
And St. Louis beats Seattle in their opener, and then goes and lays an egg against Tennessee. I think. I mean, that's just. It's just odd what's going on around the league this year, and I think it's about midway point in the season where you really start to sift out who the real guys are
Jim,
and the pretenders.
We don't quote John Fox around here a lot, but he did used to say they're all pros. They all get paid the same.
Yeah, well, that's why he's not here anymore.
Whenever he lost, that's what he would say.
They're
pros too,
Yeah, Jim, I wouldn't attach your life to that home opener thing. How did it work out for the Colts? How did it work out for the Chiefs last week?
No, I agree. I mean, but all I know is that Detroit is at a point where they got to win a game, and I think that they all feel, especially walking in that locker room today, like they've underperformed, and I think they get it home at Ford Field on a big Sunday night game. I think they'll bring it. I really do.
Yeah. Jim, appreciate your time, and have a great game on Sunday. All right.
Good to be with you guys. Take care.
All right,
Thanks,
Jim
Jim.
Brandstatter, radio analyst for the Lions. That brought to you by Cooney Lexus of Greenwood Village. It's where Woody and I buy our cars. They're the top volume Lexus dealer in the state. They're conveniently located at I-25 in Bellevue. Go to their website. Go to Cooney Lexus of GreenwoodVillage.com and check out their inventory. They've got something for you.